Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And as much as I would love to talk a little bit more about the celebration that I was at for the T-Touch convention, I have a little more pressing matter today, and that is about pet loss. Just prior to the trip, somebody that I've met in Maryland several times lost their Bernese Mountain Dog. I think he was a Bernese Mountain Dog. He was a big guy and their only pet, and had a lot of issues, so she spent a lot of time working with him and dealing with him, and he became a big presence in the neighborhood and at the dog park and in her life, and of course, and he crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And you know, she reached out to me because she's having a problem I think a lot of us do when we lose a pet, which is even though he had this huge community around him that knew him, and she's planning him a memorial service, which is, I think, pretty brave because a lot of us don't have friends that'll be sympathetic when we do something like that. But so great that she can do that. But there are several things that you really need to have at the ready when you're dealing with pet loss that might not be easy for people. And one of them is supportive friends. And whether that's people on Facebook, people like me that I know this woman through email, or a colleague at work. A colleague at work is so important because work is the hardest place to be when you lose a pet. And yes, it distracts you, but you need somebody to check in with you and that you can check in with and say, I'm really missing him right now. And that is so hard to find. I know myself. I used to have a colleague that one of the other people had a sick animal, I think. It wasn't when one of my dogs died. And she was so mean and so rude and just said, well, it's just a dog. And then when her own dog died, tragically, hit by the school bus her kids were in, she was so callous and awful, and I just felt such great pain for that dog. So it's really important if you have one person at work, even if they're not even in your office, but in the one next door or upstairs or downstairs, you need to find somebody at work to be supportive because that is a big part of your life. And even if it's somebody that you can contact by text message or email on your phone while you're at work, that can be a really important thing. I think another critical thing to do when you've just lost a pet is connect with an animal communicator because they can connect with your pet and give you some feedback from how they're doing. And there are many people that will do this. Many animal communicators work in this area in particular. But connecting with that pet a little bit to check in with him when you've been without him for 2 or 3 weeks can be really, really helpful. And they often have things to tell you that are so supportive that you can't even imagine it. And look for signs in your life that that pet is still with you. Many people I know have had a new dog or another little brother that's been living with the dog for a while, and that younger dog will start to notice things about the old dog or take on some of his habits or in some ways remind you of the old dog. And so it's really important, I think, to look for signs which may be from how your other animals are behaving. And of course, there are many, many people who have connected with nature and noticed birds or foxes or even cats in the neighborhood doing things they didn't used to do before. It is like losing family because it is family. And sometimes the loss of a family member, you know, if you have a brother you haven't seen in 30 years who you never really got along with, losing your pet can be far worse. So so connect with nature because a lot of times you'll see things in nature that will remind you of that pet and help you reconnect with them. And it's really just so common. So many people in the Corgi world share things about, you know, things that they've seen that have reminded them of their lost pet. And then another thing you can do are get these 2 books that I highly recommend. Buddy's Candle, which is by Dr. Bernie Siegel. There's an old episode of Conversations with a Corgi, maybe number 15, where I read the book online. So you can look that up, Buddy's Candle, and listen to it there, or you can go to Amazon and get one. And then this new book that I just read parts of a couple of days ago can also be really consoling to you, just to read them over and over and look at the pictures. Now, of course, you're going to be so sad when this happens, but you need to give yourself space to be sad and appreciate the fact that you will be sad. I mean, everybody I've known who's lost a pet has usually found either quiet or a particular piece of music that they listen to over and over, because it just keeps them in a calm place where they feel close to the pet. And then, of course, other things you can do, there are pet loss groups on Facebook. Sometimes if you live in a city, there's a pet loss group there. I don't know that they're always helpful. It really depends on who's in the group. And one thing I highly, highly recommend is, like, this person is having a memorial service. So, like, just like with people, she has planning to do and things to think about. You can also just do that by making a scrapbook, putting in pictures of your pet in a book. And you can get one of those online mini books that they make for you, or you can do what I did, which is go to the CVS, just print out a bunch of them off of my phone and put them in a regular photo album. And then look at that photo album, because you'll see the evolution of your pet's life. Your lab is still with you. See, they are. So go through the evolution of your pet's life and remember them. Remember the good things about them. While I was away, one of my friend's cat, who was about 21 or 2, was crossing the Rainbow Bridge. And, cats in particular don't always want people around when they're dying. I know so many stories of people going to impossible measures to be with their cat when they cross. And so many times the cat will just, the person will be in the bathroom, or they step outside with the dog for a moment, and that's when the cat goes. So I told her, and she knows this very well, that sometimes that will happen, and the cat is trying to stay with her till she gets home. Yesterday I have to check in and see what happened. But, even if you're not with your pet, making that connection with the animal communicator and staying in touch with them can really help. And asking people around you that are sensitive to also check in with that pet can be really, really helpful. I mean, she had 4 or 5 of us in the room checking in with her cat, and we all said the same things, which is very comforting when you're in the middle of a tough experience like that, especially, when you're away from home. So, these are just a few things that you can think about doing to remember your pet. And of course, don't listen to people who say, oh, you're dwelling on it. You need to get over it. You can get over it in your own time. It is okay to feel sad for a really long time. And really, for me, the only thing that's gotten me through the loss of my pets is my other pets. And for some people, I've met lots of people that say, I can't get another one for 2 or 3 years because this was so devastating. But I personally really recommend getting another animal. And if you're a person who can do it, you might get a cat if you lost a dog, and vice versa. Because sometimes a different animal can, make you feel like you aren't being disloyal to the one you lost. I, of course, always get a new Corgi while the other Corgi's still happy, so that I've got a replacement Corgi. I don't know how people come home to an empty house. I mean, it's like when I lost a horse and you no longer go to the barn. You've lost all your friends. You've lost 3 hours of time every day that you spent at the barn. And it's a devastating, sudden, tragic shift. And the same can be true if you only have the one pet at home. So I know Danny has a whole lot of pets, and that definitely helps because they still love you, they still need you, and they do miss the pet that's been lost. So focusing on them can be a huge, huge comfort for people. So hopefully nobody else will be experiencing a pet loss this week. I know before I went away, lots of Corgis crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And in good news, Tristan's people are making new baby Corgis that'll be hatching in about 2 weeks, which means they'll be ready to go in about 2.5, 3 months. So if anybody's looking for a tricolor little Corgi in New Jersey, because I think both the mom and the dad are tricolor, there is a possibility of some baby Corgis coming into the world. I don't think I will be getting one because they're not tested for DM, and I can't have another dog with DM. And sadly, Tristan's dad, who does not have it, is not making babies, which is a really sad thing for me because I would love to have another little Tristan. but you're one of a kind. So, we will be back tomorrow for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. It is cold here. It is 20 degrees below average. I was thinking it should be 40, and the fact that it's 20 is just cold. Not that it was warm in Santa Fe. It's cold everywhere. We lose one and we adopt another soon after. Yeah, sometimes that's the best idea. And I know people that have had connections with fosters for their breed, and they take in some fosters right away. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do, is transfer that love to another dog that needs you. So I will be making soup today. I think I'm going to make an apple pie or something, because all the apples in the fridge are starting to look peaked. And do laundry and clean the house. And then we'll be back here tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. We go off to the Volunteers in Northampton Schools dog show. Probably my last year I'm going to do this, because it's really loud and difficult and hard for me to see so many mismanaged dogs. So we'll see how it goes. And I will be doing this Saturday from there, which starts around 12. So I probably won't do this until like 11:30, 11:45 when I'm set up over there before it actually starts and they let in the crowds. But we will see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Danny, it is cold there. I am sure you are colder than I am. We lost power yesterday for about an hour, and that was pretty scary because this is not a warm house. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.